Hey, Julius Malema, really appreciate your time. You enjoy Cape Town, actually,
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I heard you yesterday in Google Air too,
Yeah.
at the launch of the EFF's Western Cape Manifesto. You enjoy Cape Town.
Well, I work here. I'm a member of parliament. And I've got a place in the parliamentary village. So somehow it's my second home.
But
Yeah.
do you want to live in Khandandal?
No.
Do you want to live in Khandandal, the president's residence? In other words, do you really want to be president of the South of the Republic of South Africa?
Well, if the voters decide so, I'm available. And I think I've got what it takes to occupy that office.
In order to convince the electorate, you need more than just a niche or a subsection of the electorate. You need to convince a majority of an electorate to put their faith and trust in you as a political party, who then votes for you as MPs in the National Assembly. Over the last 10 years of the EFF contesting politics in South Africa, do you think that you've managed to attract that majority of voters, making your message as accessible, black, white, whatever demographic, middle class, working class? Do you think you've done that enough?
I think we've done very well. We are the only party, if you were to check in the past two national elections, we are the only party that has got a green arrow going up. We are the only ones who are increasing, and we are the only ones even now through the polls that are going to increase their numbers. The rest of the other parties, especially the two before us, are all declining. And that is a scientific a proof that indeed the EFF is convincing a lot of people to follow its manifesto.
There are those that distrust you, and I would then
Yeah.
isolate a particular white voter demographic. I would isolate also a middle class voter demographic. There are people who distrust you with your policies and your position on nationalization, on expropriation of land. Have you been trying to allay any of those fears? I don't know if you saw the Christo Visa at the weekend. Videos of him at a Biz News conference saying that Julius Malema is right. We need more black land ownership in South Africa. He gets it because he probably asks you to come and maybe talk in more detail as a captain of industry. But are you doing enough to get other voters to entrust you with your message?
Well, the middle class, especially black middle class, is very receptive of the EFF because they can relate to what the EFF is speaking about. We haven't made enough inroads on the white constituency because of its privileged position, that when you say we now have to share this, they're like, I'm so used to the size of the cake and now I'm told that I need to share it with other people. So that is their reluctance, but they understand the message. And the captain of the industry, Christo Viso, is correct that in the absence of black people owning the land, the investment and any other economic opportunity that exists in South Africa is threatened by lack of ownership of the land by the majority of our people. I don't have access to him. I don't speak to captains of industry. I just make my own presentations in different institutions. I never meet them privately. And I've made it my business not to engage with anyone in private conversations. So I go make presentations at places like RMB and other investment institutions to explain that there's nothing anti-whites about the policy of the EFF. So yesterday I said, you must tell Johan Rupert that when we take over, the first land we're going to take is his. And how do you take it? He has to share that land with others. Why do you own so much land as one individual and have so many people living in congested environment and unable to participate in the agricultural economy or any other economic activity because they don't have access to land. So that's all we say.
Leon asks, Lester, I appreciate you giving us exposure to a wide range of views, but could you please ask Mr. Malema where the EFF support for the LGBT community comes from? If I'm not mistaken, they were the only party to speak out against the vicious anti-LGBT laws in Uganda.
Our manifesto is very clear when it comes to LGBTQ plus communities. We are going to make sure that they are protected and they enjoy the rights like any other South African. And we've been the only party that has been vocal against the violation of the rights of the LGBTQ plus communities. When Uganda passed that law, we went to the Ugandan embassy and said this is unacceptable. When Ghana passed a similar law, we said this is not going to be allowed in a continent where we have to respect their human rights.
But you also opened welcome with open arms Professor Patrick Lumumba, and there have been very vocal protests against him speaking at EFF events. There was a protest at UCT quite recently where he delivered an EFF lecture. He is in very much admiration of Uganda's policy. How is that ever congruent?
You know, when people organize protests that is not genuine, you can't even listen to that. Because Lumumba supports that Ugandan law, but he's not the one who passed the law. The Ugandan president was here in South Africa, and nothing was said about him. But that was an attack on the EFF. Lumumba knows the EFF policy when it comes to LGBTQ plus community.
So have you denounced his support of the Ugandan?
Yes, we denounced that, and we denounced the Ugandan law. And when he was at UCT, he knew that the EFF position is very clear on that matter. But that was used to attack the EFF and not genuinely to protect the rights of the LGBTQ plus communities. Where are these UCT people at the Ugandan embassy, at the Ghana embassy? Where were they when Ugandan president who signed into law, this law, visited South Africa officially? There were no protests. So that was not a legitimate concern.